Right. This is C.J. Marshall. I'm speaking with Wyoming County Commissioner Judy Mead. Judy just had her last commissioners meeting after a 20-year service to Wyoming County, which is very impressive, Judy. Okay, and well, let's start at the beginning. Okay, what made you decide to become a commissioner all those years ago?
Well, I did a lot of volunteer work in the county. I worked on a lot of projects, etc. And we also had Fitz's department store. And it was like my time was, and a couple of young children, and my time was getting...
At that time, yes.
At that time, yes. A little older now. So finally I decided that to run for commissioner. Someone approached me about running for commissioner because Reverend Reed was going to retire that year. So I decided, okay, if I did this, then at least I would be working while I was doing all these volunteer projects. And so I thought maybe we could do even more projects in the county. So I decided to run.
Okay. What has it been like the past 20 years? Because a commissioner's life is not his or her own.
People don't realize how many places you have to be, how many meetings there are, like on nights, on weekends, events that you need to show up at to show support for. So it's not just coming here to the courthouse, which I've tried to do most every morning of my life for 20 years, but then it's nights and weekends and just participating in things in the county.
What would you say is the proudest thing you could think of in your 20-year service?
Well, one thing is I was at the hospital the other day, down in the basement, and there are 3 little dark rooms in the basement of the hospital. Now, that's where our 911 center was when I started out. So they moved then to the chateau up off Route 29, and then to the new building. And I think I'm really proud of our 911 center and our GIS and mapping department, because they have grown so much in what they do. I think I'd match them up about most 911 centers, I think, in the country, because they have tried new things. They have put in new CAD, combined the mapping and the GIS with the CAD, put in the smart 911 so that if people want, they can put in information, and if they have an emergency and that number comes up, it tells anything in the house that you might have a disabled person or a blind person or a child with special needs. So I just think that's one thing that's progressed so much, and I'm so proud of both those departments. And our EMA, I mean, we help out on a lot of spills, a lot of rescues, so those have really grown over the past. Other than that, well, the doctor's apartment house in Laceyville, that was a project we worked on. I remember climbing through the basement with cobwebs, contractors, etc. And we finally got a project and a grant going and turned that into 3 apartments for moderate income and elderly in Laceyville. And it was right there at the end of the street, so they could walk to the post office, walk to the restaurant. And I know one couple moved in there the day it opened, and I believe she is still living there. But they were from Laceyville, and they were so happy to have a place they could come to and just walk around town, because they had a store in town at one time. So that really made me happy that we could service those people. And then Laceyville was looking for a place to put a veterans monument. So I got permission for them to put it right there at the corner of that house in the yard, which was right in the center of town. So that was something, you can actually see and feel, physical, that I was really happy with. A lot of the things you don't see them, you don't feel them.
Right.
So those were a couple things.
You just sense something like that. Well, here's another one that Wyoming County has kind of like set the pace, if you will, for its fight against illicit drugs. There have been a number of meetings, especially like with Project Hope, where people come back and say that people from outside counties are just amazed at how little Wyoming County has started things, and that they follow it as they follow along. What do you think about that?
I think that's great too. Unfortunately, I wish we could work faster and come up with more ideas, because it definitely is a problem. And I have 3 grandchildren coming up, and it really scares me. So I hope somehow we can solve this and we can break this trend. And of course, the opioid trend leads to mental health, or the mental health leads to opioids. So it's a dual problem. And so I think we have to fight both sides of it, or fight the opioids and try to help with the mental health part of it. I'm really happy with how some of our agencies and some of our groups have taken on this. And hopefully I will stay involved with some of that afterwards. There are a couple things I would like to stay involved with. So.
Okay. When I said that your life is not as your own as a commissioner, I mean, I imagine that there's been times when, like, if you've been having dinner in public at a restaurant, just privately, you get people who come up and say, "Hey, can you help me?" That sort of thing. And did that happen quite a bit?
And I have, back when we were really active in our store, I would leave the courthouse, go to the store, and people would either come in or start calling the store. Well, I didn't want to bother you at the courthouse. I'm like, but the information I need is at the courthouse. So, and they would, had that happen quite a bit. And, sometimes when you're out, people, can I talk to you for a minute? And then here, I've had people call and say, would you please get up here and clean this ditch out in front of my house? The water is running. So you have a lot of people call you on like, yep, I'll get my pinned out vest and be right up. Because people call you with things they don't realize that you have no control over. I mean,
So, do you think that in the 20 years that you've been here that you've made a difference?
I hope so. You'd have to ask other people that. I've tried for all the residents. I mean, yes, I ran as a Republican, but I have a lot of Democrat friends. And when I was running and as commissioner, I always thought of it as residents of the county.
Right.
I never thought of any vote as political. So I hope I have made a difference in some places in the county. I hope we've progressed with some things. But you would have to ask other people that.
Okay. Is there anything you'd like to add?
No, we've been through a lot of floods, as you know.
Yes, indeed.
They were bad times, out slushing in the mud, making sure people were out of their houses, staying all night.
And you had personal experience with that tornado, right?
The tornado, that was right before I ran, yes.
That was before you ran, okay.
Yeah, that was a year before I ran. But, during those times of the floods we've had, and opening the EOC and staying there for calls and going out to get food and medicine to people and help people get, when we brought in the trailers, help them get homes. It was a bad time, and yet I was glad to see all the people in the county coming out to help each other. People would come to the EOC and ask what they could do to help. They would take clothes to people who needed clothes. They'd go out and deliver water and Clorox. And so at times like that, you just see how many great people are in the county too. How many people volunteer and come out to help people. So.
Well, one last thing. What kept you going so long? A lot of commissioners, they might go 8 years, they might even go 12 years, but 20 years is very impressive for a public servant, believe me.
I don't know. I think sometimes once I get into something, then I just kind of want to stay there. Mm-hmm. And I found that in government, things move very slowly.
Yes.
So sometimes it's taken years to try and get some little projects done. For instance, the Iroquois Trail, we finally got that in, and a lot of people are using that now. It's amazing how many people are using that. So I'd like to stay on that committee because we're going to try and extend that into town. So little things like that, but it's taken a long time to get them to fruition. But I just decided I'm too old to run another campaign.
Okay, so it's time to step down and let someone else take over.
I hate campaigning. So otherwise, probably stayed here until they threw me out the window. Shot me like an old horse, but
Well, Judy, congratulations and everything like that.
Thank you.
20 years is definitely a very impressive record to be proud of.
thank you.
Okay, thank you.